Welcome to Search for Signs. My name is Gary Willing. If this information interests you, please press the like and subscribe button and press the bell for notifications. I don't know if you noticed this, but just the other day when I was on Google, there was an article that popped up, and it was by the New York Post, and it was entitled 2019 was a banner year for credible UFO sightings. And I will include the link in the description of this video. So if you didn't see it on Google, you can go to it and read it yourself. And there was several reasons why they said what they said about the title, right? To confirm the title. But the one that I knew about, and I actually put up a video of this a few months ago, was an article that I read on several major news outlets at the time that it came out. But surprisingly, most of my friends and family and coworkers didn't know anything about it when I asked them if they had heard anything about this. But apparently, in the summertime or late spring, there were high-level military officials that briefed certain members of Congress and the president himself on ongoing UFO activity. And the reason why I think this is the most, one of the most incredible things that have come out in years about UFOs is because even though the president denied not having a meeting with those military officials, but came out and said that he didn't believe in UFO activity, which is his right, whether he believes it or not. I don't necessarily think that he believes that, but it's because the fact that, in any business or politics or, bureaucracy of any kind, especially when you start getting into the higher echelon of politics and the bureaucracy of the government and so forth. I just can't imagine anybody sticking their neck out and talking about something as off the wall and as crazy as UFO activity if they didn't have conclusive proof for themselves, if they didn't have ongoing proof for years, believed it themselves, and that those people who they were briefing didn't believe in it too. Because there's no real reason for them to waste the president's time on a just crazy conspiracy theory. Or why would they go to Congress and talk to them about this if they didn't believe it was true? Both parties didn't believe it was true, or had an idea that it could be true based on their own evidence. Do you see what I'm saying? There's no way that they would risk their political careers and do this. There's just no way. I can't get that. So it was, even though it was a very small article this summer that came out, and like I said, it kind of went around the wire. So I saw it in different news articles, credible news articles. Even though our president calls it fake news, I mean, it was in there, right? But yet it was missed by a lot of people. And I've noticed UFO activity this year more so than I have in recent years. And it kind of reminds me of what I was starting to see in the skies right before Maitreya's first interview, when Benjamin Creme published in Share International that there would be a quote-unquote star in the sky, and it was spaceships. It was 4 spaceships from our neighboring planets. Now, the thing of it is that according to the late Benjamin Creme and the late George Adamski, who talked at great length about UFOs, they said for years, while other people, and the majority of the people were thinking that UFOs were here in an aggressive manner, they were saying, and I bet you they were the only 2 that were coming out and saying this, that UFOs were actually here in a spiritual way. They were here for a spiritual mission, and they were here helping us. And that relationship that we will have with them will start to build over time, but it's starting and has started over the last century. That they were here helping us clean up our environment because our environment was in peril and so forth. So while everybody else, including all the movies that you'll see about UFOs and television shows where they talk about them coming from other dimensions or other solar systems, and they look a certain way, they look like aliens, with the big eyes and the big heads. George Adamski and Benjamin Creme were the only 2 that I know that said that they looked like us. George Adamski said that he had contact with members of, he called them space brothers, like Benjamin Creme did, with these space brothers. And they were in a restaurant talking, and nobody looked at them funny. He said they look just like us. Now, to take it a step further, Benjamin Creme and George Adamski were saying at the time that these UFOs and these space brothers are coming from no farther than our closest planets in our own solar system. Now, astronomers, members of NASA, of course, the information that we all have about those other planets, like Venus and Mars, is that they're uninhabited. Now, that's just because we're only seeing solid, liquid, and gas. That's all we can see, right? But according to these two men, Benjamin Creme and George Adamski, that above gas is 4 other layers of physicality that they call the etheric, and that's where these civilizations are. So if you could see the etheric plane, you would see that there are actually more people on Mars than there even are here on Earth. There's like 9 billion souls living on Mars. Now the funny thing is that's why they're so short, because even George Adamski, when he was talking to those space brothers from Mars, they were much shorter than the ones from Venus, but they still look like people. He said they could walk into a mall, they could walk into a restaurant or a busy office building or something like this, and nobody would turn to them and look like they were strange or anything. They looked just like us. But they were here helping us and been helping us for decades and decades and decades. Now, the UFO activity has always been going on in our skies. And whether we see it or not and are aware of it or not is a whole other thing, because these UFOs can actually stay at the level that they're at where they know they're invisible to our eyesight, or most of our eyesights, or they can lower the vibration at any moment so that we can see them. And now that people are starting to, people have smartphones with video cameras and just regular cameras, of course, there's more and more evidence of them on YouTube and so forth, where decades ago you might not have a camera accessible at that time or so forth. There wasn't quite as good of an image of it. But it's undeniable. Now, why am I bringing that up? Well, it relates directly to Maitreya being on TV and these masters of wisdom coming out into the world, because humanity really is on the threshold of making a giant leap forward about what we know about ourselves and ourselves in the cosmos, really. Now, a lot of my Christian brethren will disagree. They'll think that we're in the end times, where everything is getting ready to end. Well, I disagree with that. I think that we're actually about to make a giant leap forward. Now, what is at the end is the end of our ignorance about ourselves and about ourselves in the universe, is really what is at the end. That we will eventually start to become more and more aware of who we are as souls and how that relates to the planet and other planets and so forth. And it sounds kind of new, the people always throw that term new agey or new age out, like that's supposed to hurt my feelings some kind of way. We are entering into a new age where the way that we will be thinking and relating and acting amongst one another will be less competitive and more cooperative. More about having a sustained way of living versus trying to conquer and take over other things. So we're moving into a whole new way of relating with one another, and these UFOs definitely play a big role in that taking place. So what's in store for us in 2020 in terms of UFOs? I think more of what we're starting to see. It's just going to be, eventually it's going to be so undeniable amongst everybody that we'll have to just admit that there's, at least to ourselves, we might not admit it to other people, that there's something strange going on. That, this isn't normal to see stars bouncing around the way that they are, But, humanity is distracted right now, and we're still, grappling with our own ignorance and fumbling in the dark, but eventually we'll start to know these things. And the other thing is that as Maitreya starts to come out more and more known for who he is on TV, and people start to look to him for advice and his information and so forth, according to Benjamin Creme's own master, he will be asked by a reporter or somebody about UFOs and what does it mean for humanity. And he will introduce the truth that there is life on other planets. that they have been here helping us for decades. And then the whole thing will kick off, and people will know for sure that there's life on other planets. We'll start to get more and more proof of that fact, you know? So, 100 years from now, when our great grandkids or great grandkids look at the stars and planets, they will know conclusively that there is life on those planets, and it will change the entire way that we look at ourselves and ourselves in the universe. I hope this helps. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.